Hello, everyone. It's Pastor Jason Perry here at Patriot Crusader Mission, and this is God's Forge Bible study, Monday through Friday, done here in Johnson City, Tennessee, as well as online to anybody who wants to join. We started this ninth, well, we're on almost the conclusion of 4 weeks because we're in Genesis 19 right now. And and good morning, Brandy. And we are going from the front of the Bible to the back of the Bible, and we are in the very rich story of Genesis. So why don't we good morning, Scott, take a moment, grab some coffee or your beverage of choice, and let's get ready to crack open our Bibles and get into it. As I normally do during my weekly times, you guys got to deal with my news rants or in updates on our sanctuary project. And good to see you, Scott. It's always great to have you. Steve, good to see you. Michelle, always awesome to have you. Facebook user anonymous. That could be Christopher, or that could be Melissa. I'm guessing, but we'll see who it is. So if you're on Facebook and it says, and you just said good morning, sound off and let me know who you are. So good morning, my love. So I don't know if you saw the footage last night of the news. It's been all over the TV this morning, where the Biden administration got caught smuggling plane loads of illegal immigrant males and offloading them in the middle of the night, in the early, pitch black of the night in remote airports. And a body camera from the police who were responsible for securing that airport, all their body cams were FOIA'd by someone who's running for governor in that state. And this is, we have hey, Linda. Okay, great. Good to see you. You have multiple government employees and contractors in there talking that, we want to keep this on the hush hush. If America finds out, they're going to know that their government's betraying them, on and on and on and on. And again, I want to reiterate why I am anti-illegal immigrant, because a lot of misled Christians are pro-illegal immigrant. And I want to go over why that is not biblical. Okay. If our situation, if we were not $30 trillion in debt, if we were not $1 trillion in a trade deficit, if we were not, having all these, being in a very bad place for the American people, the people who this country's government serves is the American people. It doesn't serve the people of the world, because no one helps America. Everyone takes from America, and they bankrupt American citizens by us borrowing from China and others, paying interest to those countries, so enriching our enemies and others out there, all while the American taxpayer, we have our unborn grandchildren, great-grandchildren, great-great-great-grandchildren are in massive debt before they're even conceived, because of the sins that we're allowing our government to do, to be mommy and poppy and daddy to everyone on this earth. Now, if the situation was different, if we had a $30 trillion surplus, and we had worker shortages and blah, 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 and all, and everything else, I'd be the first one to say, let's bring people in. Some of the most desperate, but I would also say, since we are a country, let's also bring in the best of the best. Right? And then award people based upon their direness, based upon how much of a surplus we need. But if we need scientists and engineers and nurses, well, guess what? If you have those professions, come on in first by merit. Unfortunately, the Democrats are an equity party, meaning that if you work 12 hours and bust your butt, um, working as hard as you possibly can and you're gifted and intellectually, whatever, the person next to you who doesn't work as hard, but happens to work maybe 12 hours should get the same thing as you, no matter if you sold 20 times what they sold or did the work of 4 people versus the work of 1, right? We are losing our sovereignty. And this all comes down to the blatant hypocrisy that we're seeing with us willing to almost go to World War III with Russia over someone else's borders, but not our own, right? And I'll state this clearly, the American people have woken up and are not going to vote for the failed policies of the Democrat Party. So they are literally every month importing hundreds of thousands of people, cities worth of population, to displace American voters, because what they're hoping is that they can just throw the switch and make all these illegals legal. They already let them vote in New York and California and other insane places. So suburban women, I'm speaking to you, right? Because you guys betray us more than anyone, right? You're the ones who who had a very gifted life. You don't think the problems of the city are going to roll over to your existence. Your kids are going to be competing in labor markets where people who are going to work for 1/10 of them, right? Why did wages rise under Trump? Because the border shut down and illegal labor, illegal carpenters, illegal lawn care, illegal plumbers, illegal whatever you were doing, you had to pay more to an American citizen because people weren't willing to do it for dirt, right? And that's something that your kids and grandkids and great grandkids are going to be competing against is also, but I must say that I am optimistic still, because the Latino population is by very nature conservative. They're far more conservative than Democrats. They don't care about this LGBTQ madness, right? They're hard workers. They want to work. And in an ideal situation, we would be taking in their hard workers and we would be rewarding them in line with everyone else from around the country. I do not want to do anything bad with Russia. I think Russia is a natural ally against China. This is all a ploy by China to turn, and the Democrats have been drumming up the Russian beats because I think we have far more in common with Russia than we do with China. Russia shares a border with China. They're a natural enemy of them, but we are making them allies because we're declaring war on both of them. What Russia does, I really don't care. NATO has gotten a free ride for against us or by us. We have been funding NATO. Our troops have been going and dying. And all that stuff. We've been bankrupting our country, borrowing to give it to NATO, right? How many billions of dollars have we sent to people who will never send a penny back to us, right? And it's not that we're rich. America is not a rich country. We're a debt country, right? With almost 30 trillion in debt, guys, right? That means that the average American is underwater, right? Because we have to pay these taxes someday and all that stuff. So again, I would rather find common ground with everyone in this world, because China is our ultimate enemy, right? Our ultimate enemy. Now, if they do something negative against us, we'll do something negative against them. We'll, of course, have our defenses, but I'm tired of sending American troops to die in foreign countries when we don't even protect our own border. If we protect our own border, and we put America first and we put our citizens first, and then I am willing to entertain helping other countries, but not until we do that first. All right. Now let's get into the Bible, because this is some heavy, heavy stuff in the Bible we have to talk about. All right. I've already ranted on my current news stuff for 10 minutes. Thank you for enduring that. But, Genesis 19 is one of the more heavier chapters of the Bible, and we got some unpacking to do on this. So I hope you hit the bathroom. I hope you grabbed your coffee. Let's get into it. I don't have my glasses, so this should be really interesting. Lauren, if you're watching, if you could drop off a pair of glasses, you would save my life. Also, I want to thank you all for your prayers. Baby Anya last night slept great. It's the reason why we're all in such good moods today. We're not absolutely falling over exhausted. And she's smiling and laughing, and her personality is coming out for the first time. So, guys, I can't tell you how much I appreciate your prayers. You know, she's a great girl and a good girl. She doesn't want to scream all the time. She's just in pain. So thank you so much for your prayers for our 1 month old child. I appreciate that. Thank you, Lauren. All right, I can read the bigger print, but if I read a little bit slower, guys, it's because my vision isn't what it used to be, and I didn't get a large version Bible yet. And I am reading out of the ESV, the Reformers edition by R.C. Sproul and his crew at Ligonier. God rescues Lot for the second time. The two angels came to Sodom in the evening, and Lot was sitting at the gate of Sodom. Sitting at the gate to Sodom is a sign of status, meaning that he was a person of importance sitting at the gate with the elders. When Lot saw them, he rose to meet them and bowed himself with his face to the earth and said, "My lords, please turn aside to your servant's house and spend the night and wash your feet. Then you may rise up early and go on your way." They said, "No, we will spend the night in the town square." But he pressed them strongly. So they turned aside to him and entered his house. And he made them feast and baked unleavened bread, and they ate. Now, notice it's the two angels that are there. The Lord is up back in heaven. But before they lay down, the men of the city, the men of Sodom, both young and old, so all of them, all the people to the last man surrounded the house, right? So every man in the city surrounded the house. And they called to Lot, "Where are the men who came to you tonight? Bring them out to us so that we may know them, rape them." That's what they're talking about there, right? So this is where sodomy is coming from. This is where, one of the biggest examples of how the Lord is considers homosexuality an abomination. All right. Where are the men who came? Bring them out so that we may know them. Rape them. Lot went out to the men of the entrance, shut the door after him, and said, "I beg you, my brothers, do not act so wickedly. Behold, I have two daughters who have not known any man, virgins. Let me bring them out to you and do with them as you please." So here is Lot, who is being very righteous at this moment, is doing something that I can't even imagine doing, which is saying, "Hey, you crowd of evil men, I'm going to bring out my virgin daughters so you can rape them over and over instead of defiling and raping these two angels." This also goes to the point. Remember how we talked about the Nephilim and how, could man and celestial being, have sex? Well, this is proof right here that they can, because these men wanted to rape these angels. And maybe that's part of their motivation. Again, it's not in here that they want them, or who knows. Great, but again, extremely sinful. Holy smokes, is Lot putting it on the line to offer up his own flesh and blood to be raped repeatedly to protect the angels. So then he now says, "Only do not attack these men, for they shall come under the shelter of my roof." But they said, "Stand back." And they said, "This fellow came to sojourn, and he has become the judge." So he's someone who wandered in, an immigrant, and now he is judging them. Now he will deal worse with you than with them. Now he's going to punish him, then, probably implying killing versus the raping of the men. They then pressed hard against the man Lot and drew near to breaking down the door. But the men reached out with their hands, these would be the angels, and brought Lot into the house with them and shut the door. And they struck with blindness the men who were at the entrance of the house, both small and great, so that they wore themselves out groping for the door. Then the men said to Lot, "Have you anyone else in there?" These are the angels now talking. "Have you anyone else in there? Sons in law, sons, daughters, or anyone you have in the city? Bring them out of this place, for we are about to destroy this place, because the outcry against this people has become great before the Lord. And the Lord has sent us to destroy it." So Lot went out and said to his sons in law, who were to marry his daughters, "Up, get out of this place, for the Lord is about to destroy the city." But he seemed to his son in laws to be jesting. As the morning dawned, the angel urged Lot, saying, "Up, take your wife and your 2 daughters who are here, lest you be swept away in the punishment of the city." But he lingered. So the men seized him and his wife and his 2 daughters by the hand. The Lord being merciful to him, they brought him out and set him outside the city. And as they brought them out, one said, "Escape for your life. Do not look back. Do not stop anywhere in the valley. Escape to the hills, lest you be swept away." And Lot said to them, Lot's a city boy, "Oh no, my lords, behold, your servant has found favor. If your servant has found favor in your sight, you have shown me great kindness in saving my life, but I cannot escape to the hills, lest the disaster overtake me and I die. Behold, this city is near enough." Right? He's a city boy. He wants to live in the city, to flee to, and it is a little one. Let me escape there. Is it not a little one? And my life will be saved. He said to him, "Behold, I grant you this favor also, that I will not overthrow the city of which you have spoken. Escape there quickly, for I can do nothing till you arrive there." Therefore, the name therefore the name of the city was called Zoar. Now God destroys Sodom. And Lauren, thank you for bringing my glasses. So let's continue to dig in. The sun had risen on the earth when Lot came to Zoar. Then the Lord rained on Sodom and Gomorrah sulfur and fire from the Lord out of heaven, and he overthrew those cities and all the valley and all the inhabitants of the cities, what grew on the ground and what grew on the ground. But Lot's wife behind him looked back, and she became as a pillar of salt. And Abraham went early in the morning to the place where he had stood before the Lord and looked down toward Sodom and Gomorrah, toward all the land of the Lord. And he looked down toward Sodom and Gomorrah and toward all the land of the valley, and looked at, and behold, smoke of the land went up like smoke of a furnace. So it was that when God destroyed the cities in the valley of God, remembered Abraham and sent Lot out in their midst and overthrew. When he overthrew the cities, it was Lot who had lived, which Lot had lived. Lot and his daughters. Now we're going to see crazy incest and sin that is going to cause a lot of problems for the Jewish people of Israel going forward. All right, Lot and his daughters. Now Lot went up out of Zoar and lived in the hills with his 2 daughters, for he was afraid to live in Zoar. So now the city boy is now afraid to live in Zoar. Explain that one. So he lived in a cave with his 2 daughters. What a great life. And his firstborn said to the younger, "Our father is old, and there is not a man on earth to come into us after the manner of all the earth. Come, let's make our father drink wine. We will lie with him, and we may preserve our offspring of our father." So we made their father drink wine that night, and the firstborn went in and lay with her father, and he did not know when she lay down or when she arose. So obviously he was pretty tanked if he didn't realize that he was having sex with his daughter and didn't remember it. Right? So again, this is not putting trust in the Lord. This is not doing anything. His daughters are extremely ungodly. The next day, they tricked him by getting him drunk, which is why we are told not to get drunk. The next day, the firstborn said to the younger, behold, I lay last night with my father. Let us make him drink wine tonight also. Then you go in and lie with him, and we may preserve offspring from our father. So they made their father drink wine that night also. And the younger arose and lay with him. And he did not know when she lay down or when she arose. Thus, both daughter and Lot became pregnant by their father. The firstborn bore a son named Moab. All right, now this is really important. He is the father of the Moabites to this day. The Moabites and the Israelites, had massive wars. The younger was also born by this name was his name was Ben Ami. He is the father of the Ammonites to this day. Again, the other massive enemy of the Jewish people. So you can see here the line separating. Abraham's going one way. And even though Lot was a godly man and did righteous things in the eyes of the Lord, he still had some fatal flaws. And just like Noah, whose family, some were just and some were unjust, you can see that here happening again. So let's go into the notes here that we see for chapter 19. There's a ton of them. I covered some of them. Let's get into the overall summary of this. Just as God rescued righteous Noah from the sinful pre-flood world, so also he rescues Lot from Sodom. Ultimately, Lot is saved because of God's mercy to him and because of God's covenant commitment to Abraham. The destruction of Sodom becomes a paradigm, I can't believe it, of God's judgment on sin. Hopefully I pronounced that right. Sitting at the gate, that's a sin of status. He bowed. Lot bowed down when he saw the angels as hospitality, demonstrate his righteousness. The character of Lot's appeal by offering up his daughter shows his righteousness again. Let's see here. His wife and daughter, the family is saved from the city's destruction as a unit, but the family, like Noah's, will prove to be a mixture of those who persevere, Lot, and those who do not, Lot's wife. 1916, he lingered. Lot's status in the city is probably due to his great wealth and to his uncle Abraham rescue of the city. Now having to flee with virtually nothing from the comforts of the city, Lot hesitates. The Lord rained down, 1924, sulfur and fire. A detailed explanation of the inferno that engulfed the cities remains difficult. The Bible here emphasizes the final divine cause and not the secondary causes within God's plan. Deposits of sulfur are found near the Dead Sea. Some suggest an earthquake caused a mixture of sulfur, asphalt, also abundant in this area, and gases from the earth to ignite, or God issued an immediate judgment apart from secondary means. A lot of people ask why, Lot's wife looked back. Lot's wife is a sobering lesson against vacillation when God's judgment is in his hand. She was commanded not to by the angels, but she disobeyed. She paid with her life. Now let's get into Lot's daughters. The desperate act of Lot's daughters to preserve the seed of their drunken father brings it to a conclusion, the tragic account of Lot that began with his separation from Abraham. In spite of Lot's affiliation with Sodom and the unbelief of his family, the Lord protects his lineage and land because of his faith and his relationship to Abraham. 1930, afraid to live in Zoar. Ironically, while Lot had sought to live in Zoar because of his fear of the mountains, he now lives in the mountains for fear of Zoar. Note the contrast with Lot's prosperity and prospect. 1932, we got two more things here that I'll cover. Drink wine, lie with them. The daughter's initiative contrasts with Lot, who apparently had made no effort to find spouses for his daughter. Their sexual immorality anticipates their descendants' seduction of Israelites' men. Time and time again, the Israelites were commanded not to interbreed with the Moabites and the Ammonites, and because they pulled them away from the Lord. This is foretelling of that. This genealogical conclusion begins the story of a bitter animosity of Moab and Ammon against Israel. The Moabites and the Ammonites were rejected by God, not because of their questionable lineage, but because they mistreated Israel. Ruth, an ancestor of Jesus Christ, was a Moabite, but she was eventually counted in the tribe of Judah through her faith and her redemptive marriage to Boaz. And that's where we'll wrap it up. Okay. Well, again, we have another troll, never to be seen again. All right. So I don't know if there are any questions on that. That's a really heavy chapter. Again, people ask, how bad was Sodom and Gomorrah compared to, you'll say, America today, right? Obviously, Sodom and Gomorrah were worse than America today. I don't think every single man, woman, or man of all ages would turn up to rape someone if they showed up. If it was even possible to gather everyone there. All right, a whole city wouldn't turn up to rape angels in this day. Would there be some? Yes, there would be some, but not to the utter deprivation of the entire city. All right. So remember, God said he would not judge Sodom and Gomorrah if he could find. It was, I think, whittled down to 10. We have way more than that. All right. Which buys us time, again, to save more and more and more people. And if you're a post-millennial like us, you believe the church actually wins in the end, that Jesus Christ does not fail. The church is triumphant. The gospel spreads throughout the land, and life gets better. Everyone out there saying how bad life is right now doesn't understand what bad life is. Bad life. The 1800s were really bad. All right. And on the times before that were really bad. Mortality was everywhere. Babies died left and right. Now, we kill them with abortion, which is disgusting. But, our quality of life and America in itself and Christianity, Christian nations has lifted the world up out of poverty more than anything else, which is proof, again, to me that the gospel is spreading and that we were doing. Did they always commit incest back in the past? There was cases of it, but it was discouraged after a certain point and made illegal. So obviously in the beginning when there was limited people there, and that's where, right, the imperfections in our genes and the degradation of our genetic code and where the corruption and cancer and diseases and everything else comes in. So as sin came in and then procreating in that way. And as we get away from the original man who was made perfect to what man and woman are making, that's where all of our birth defects, imperfections, special needs, all those things come from, of which I have a special needs son. So I hope that answers everyone's questions for today. I appreciate you joining me. I forgot to pray it in, so let me pray it. I pray us out. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, we came to you today as we always do to do one thing: seek your truth, seek your knowledge, seek your will for our lives, Lord. Let your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Lord, I pray that you make clear to everyone who watches this Bible study, whether now, live, recorded later, or years from now, that you would draw them to you and show them how you would have them serve you. I pray all these things in Jesus' name. Amen. All right. Thank you, everyone. God bless you and have a great day. Thank you for all your kind words. I appreciate it. All right.